Introduction of Public Safety will come to order. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Fitzwater.
Here.
Schnelting.
Here.
Brown. Gregory.
Here.
Schroer.
Here.
Washington. Weber.
Quorum being established, we are officially in session for the committee. We're going to start with Senator Mosley's bill. Senator, you can proceed when you're ready. We'll go right into the hearing.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman, for allowing me to have this hearing today. And thank you to the rest of the committee. I am State Senator Angela Mosley from Senate District 13, and I'm here to present SB40, which creates the Missing and Murdered African American Women and Girls Task Force. This act creates the Missing and Murdered African American Women and Girls Task Force with membership as provided in the act. The task force shall elect a chairperson and shall hold an initial meeting before October 1st, 2025. The task force shall submit a report regarding policies and measures to address violence against African American women and girls as provided in the act to the Governor and General Assembly on or before December 31st of each year, and the task force shall expire on December 31st, 2027, unless the Department of Public Safety determines the task force should be extended until December 31st, 2029. What we have found is that African American women make up 19% of the population, but 42% of the missing and murdered are African American women. So that's why we feel that this bill is very important to this state. This has been done in other states as well, and I would like to see Missouri get on board.
Senator, did the Senate consider this a version of this last year?
Yes, this bill did pass out the Senate unanimously. It just got, because of time, it didn't get out of the House last session.
Any questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, thank you, Senator. Anybody here to testify in favor of Senate Bill 40? Go ahead and come on up, and please make sure you fill out a witness form. We have a long hearing ahead of us today, so if you'd keep your comments to about 3 minutes for testimony, we'd appreciate that. And proceed when you're ready, sir. You can sit right there on at the table, and then, Senator, you want to help him get that mic turned on? There you go.
My name is James Robinette, and I'm here on behalf of the Missouri NAACP today. And we support Senator Mosley's bill. I recently heard a similar hearing at the federal level about Native American Indian missing and abused and murdered women. And so to me, if we have similar statistics as the senator just stated here in Missouri, I think it would be appropriate to form a task force to come up with remedies to address this issue. Thank you.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for your time. Anybody else here to testify in favor of Senate Bill 40? Go ahead and come on up, and please leave a witness form, please.
Good morning. My name is Precious Jones. I'm the founder of Breaking Generational Poverty and Mamas Against Homicides. I stand before you this morning to testify in support of Bill SB40, which creates the Missing and Murdered African American Women and Girls Task Force. First, I would like to begin by sending my prayers to all those who have missing loved ones and to those who are grieving the painful loss of family members. My heart goes out to each of you. As I see so many posters of missing African American women, I am left to wonder why there are so many, yet we rarely hear about them on the main news outlets to see them flashing on the billboards. As a child, I remember seeing some of these same missing person posters in local businesses year after year, but there were no updates, no follow-ups. The media of the women. These faces, these stories simply fade into silence. I often wonder why this happens so frequently in our urban neighborhoods, and yet it is so easily ignored, swept under the rug. I can name countless cases that never made it to the news. Take, for instance, 61-year-old Monica Abbott went missing on Christmas Day, December 25th of 2025. Her body was found just days later on December 30th of 2025. Despite her family's desperate attempts to reach out to the media and police, her case was never broadcast on television. It was only through the tireless efforts of concerned community members sharing posts on social media that disappearance even garnered attention. Miss Abbott was a loving mother and grandmother. Imagine the heartache her children and family are enduring right now. Think of the trust they have lost in law enforcement and a system that failed to protect her. Had Bill SB40 been in place, perhaps Miss Abbott's life could have been saved and one less family would be in grief. This bill is so crucial to our communities, particularly to our African American families. It will help save lives and bring attention to those who are invisible, to those who can't see but whose lives matter just as much. I am a mother who lost a 20-year-old son to gun violence. The pain is unbearable. It cuts deeper than words can express. It feels as though it has pierced my very soul. I couldn't fathom the agony if I didn't know where my child was and being able to give him a proper homegoing. Unfortunately, this has been a lot of parents' reality, no closure. Imagine just for a moment dropping your child off, going about your day, then when it's time to pick them up, your child is nowhere to be found. No one knows where they've gone. Imagine the gut-wrenching panic in those first moments. Days pass, weeks go by, and then months and years with no answers, no sign of your child. Can you even begin to understand the kind of pain? I can tell you from the depths of my heart that is a pain no family should ever have to endure. This is not something that only happens to certain families. Anyone can disappear, anyone can be murdered, and it can happen to you or your loved ones. Passing this bill is not just for our community, but for the safety of your own family as well. Mamas Against Homicide stand in solidarity with Ms. Theda Wilson, the mother of sweet Christian Ferguson, who is also the founder of Looking for an Angel. Ms. Wilson could not be here today, but she wanted me to share her deepest apologies. She also wanted me to remind you that, as she always says, we can't find who we can't see. Many of you know Ms. Wilson's work, and she has dedicated her life to this cause. January is also Human Trafficking Awareness Month, which makes the passing of this bill even more significant. It's for children like Christian Ferguson, Shamika Cozy, Monica Seitz, Marquita Williams, Delisha Evans, and so many others whose lives have been stolen because we did not have the right systems in place to protect them. If there had been a task force like the one proposed in this bill, perhaps we could have saved these sweet lives. I thank you all for hearing my testimony today, and I humbly ask that you pass Bill SB40 for the sake of our families and for the sake of our children. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for your time. Anybody else here to testify in favor of Senate Bill 40?
Good morning, good afternoon, good morning, members of the committee. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dinoff, State Public Advocate, and I am not opposing this bill. I feel that there needs to be needed amendments because all Missourian lives need to be thought out and all crimes need to be investigated. I just came from the gubernatorial committee of the Senate where the Director of Public Safety is going through the nomination process. And there are 17,256 outstanding hardcore felony warrants across our state of Missouri. This bill needs to be geared to all women and all Missourians, regardless of color or age, shall not be a determining factor. Race, color, sex shall be treated the same. All Missourian lives are important and valued when there's a crime, and they need to be investigated to the fullest extent allowed by law with all the expertise and all the professional public safety people doing the investigation. Once the report is done, As most reports in this building, they get dust and nothing ever gets accomplished or ever gets done. What steps are going to be after this report to the General Assembly, December 31st of each year? And I feel that the Department of Public Safety needs to be come to the table and be part of this bill and part of the equation to solve the mystery of crimes of people that have been either seriously wounded, seriously assaulted, or lost their life across Missouri. But my goal is we can't separate one sect over another. All Missourian lives are important. That's my testimony, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Anybody else here to testify in favor of the bill? Seeing none, anybody here to testify in opposition to the bill? Seeing none, anybody here to testify for informational purposes only? Seeing none, that'll conclude the hearing. Senator, do you have any closing remarks?
Thank you for your time, and I appreciate your support on this bill as usual. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, Senator. Okay, now the Senate, the committee will go to, we'll hear at the same time my bill and Senator Schroer's bill, Senate Bill 52 and 44. Senator Schnelting, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just go ahead and proceed when you are ready, Senators.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record and those listening at home, I am Nick Schroer, Senator for Senate District 2. I'm here for, I believe, the 5th year introducing a citizen board control of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, Senate Bill 52, a landmark piece of legislation that directly addresses the issues critical to our area, plaguing the beloved city of St. Louis. This bill before you is not just a piece of paper, but it is a beacon of hope, a call to action and a step toward reclaiming our city's safety, prosperity, and dignity. So what does Senate Bill 52 do? The legislation establishes a new oversight board specifically tasked with managing, guiding, and ultimately improving the performance of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. The board will consist of individuals with deep roots in law enforcement, community leadership, and public safety, all local residents, ensuring a balanced approach to policing that reflects the needs and voices of the St. Louis residents. As a gateway to the West, St. Louis has been facing unprecedented challenges. We've seen crime rates, particularly murders, escalate to levels that are not just alarming, but are detrimental to our community's fabric. In recent years, St. Louis has been repeatedly identified as one of the most dangerous cities, not only in the United States, but throughout the world, with crime statistics painting a grim picture of daily life for our citizens. Constant issues with non-reporting or misreporting crime, local professors and news outlets have poked glaring holes in the city's claims that crime has dropped, as literally no one has been able to replicate the city's findings. The population of the city of St. Louis has drastically been decreasing, and with it, our economic vitality. Businesses are reluctant to invest, families are moving out, and growth has stagnated. This is more than just a statistic. It is a call for change and a demand for action. You'll hear today that over the last year, crime statistics in the city of St. Louis are on the decline, and therefore, this bill isn't necessary. The truth is, the reliability of those crime statistics has come under massive federal and state scrutiny. Even the FBI has recently highlighted that the crime data from St. Louis might not be trustworthy or reliable due to the inconsistencies in reporting and data management. This is not only undermining our efforts to address crime, but also erodes the public trust in our law enforcement. Moreover, this issue hits a boiling point. Recently, we have seen public executions in our streets, high school athletes Janae Edmondson being ran over while she was in the city for a tournament, making her an amputee, a mother and a daughter, tourists ran over and killed while leaving a concert, and a high school hockey player, Colin Brown, killed while in the city. We can no longer continue kicking the can while people are being deprived of life, liberty, and property in our region. This bill aims to improve accountability by establishing a dedicated board ensuring that the police department operates with transparency and is accountable to the citizens that it serves. Enhancing community policing. This board will foster a stronger connection between the police and the community, focusing on strategies that prevent crime rather than just reacting to it. Tackling crime rates. With better management, crime management, We anticipate a more strategic approach to reducing crime, especially violent crimes like murder, which have been too common in our streets. Restoring trust, accurate, transparent, reliable data collection, and reporting overseen by this new board will help restore faith in our crime statistics, giving us a clearer picture of where we stand and where we need to go. Encouraging growth. By making St. Louis safer, we aim to reverse the trend of population decline, encouraging new investment and fostering growth. In closing, Senate Bill 52 isn't just about managing police, it's about managing our future. It's about ensuring that St. Louis can once again be a place where people feel safe to live, work, tour, and raise their families. Let's take this bold step together towards a safer, more prosperous St. Louis and a more prosperous Missouri. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Schroer. I'm Senator Travis Fitzwater from the 10th District, State Senate District. And I have a very substantially similar bill to Senator Schroer's. I think this impacts the communities we represent significantly. St. Charles County, in particular, sees an incredible amount of growth. And it's in large part because people want to live in safe communities. And that's not what they're getting out of St. Louis City. It's a real problem. And so this is really Senator Schroer and I, Senator Schroer has spent a ton of time on this and has carried a ton of weight on this. And just wanted another senator to be at his side working on this issue because it's so important to our communities around the state. The reason why I'm carrying this piece of legislation is because, as Senator Schroer kind of touched on, is that the St. Louis region is half of our state's economy. If the St. Louis region isn't doing well, our state's not doing well. And the fact that the amount of population loss that's happened in the city alone, just since the last census, I think near 10% of the population has fled the city. That's terrible for the whole state because even though many of them are coming to St. Charles, an area that I represent and Mr. Chair you represent and Senator Schroer represents, not all of them are staying in Missouri. That's bad for our state. And businesses leaving. The announcements of large businesses leaving the city because they don't feel, their employees and their companies don't feel safe there is devastating to our economy. And this failure flywheel that we're seeing continue to be compounded upon on a week-to-week, month-to-month, year-by-year basis is unsustainable. And so giving resources to the police to fight those issues in this way, giving them accountability from a higher level to ensure that they're getting everything that they need and the force that they need, and to hear from the cops. I know that Senator Schroer is passionate about this because he has them in his ear all the time. When I ran for office, this was a priority issue for my district, was getting crime under control. And so giving the cops the resources they need, the accountability that they're demanding, so they can go out and do their jobs and feel like the job that they're doing is being protected, I think is crucial. The city should be a shining city on a hill. It should be the once great city that it was decades ago. It's been bleeding population. That's terrible for our state. And so this is what we think is not the silver bullet, but a solution to many of the problems that I think citizens of St. Louis are concerned about, and what the districts surrounding the area, the St. Louis region, the whole economy of that region are concerned about. So happy to take any questions, but I appreciate Senator Schroer working alongside with me on this issue. He's been like a bulldog on a bone. I appreciate that, and there's a lot of work to do in this space.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Washington.
Hi. Good morning, friends. I will try to save some time for others. But a couple of things you all mentioned I have to talk about. Senator Schroer, you commented, or you stated that a state control would lead to better crime rates, right? Can you explain to me why Kansas City is still one of the top 10 dangerous cities in America?
Well, I think when you look at the apples and oranges of this issue, I think you may have been in the House, may have been in the Senate when the legislature took on the repeal of the residency requirement. At one point, we opened that up to the entire state. And at that time, the legislature debated that on the floor of the House. We were told in committees that we cannot compare and contrast Kansas City to St. Louis because of the population differences. I think Kansas City right now has over 200,000 more people than St. Louis does. St. Louis is a bleeding population, whereas Kansas City is still growing, and the different counties that make up that area in Kansas City. But when you do look,
Respectfully, I just want to interject real quick. The comparison, because I worked really hard on that residency bill, was not about the things that you're saying. The apples and oranges for that issue was that Kansas City is actually 6 times geographically larger than the city of St. Louis. So those issues are a little different. But what your bill is asking for is exactly what we have in Kansas City. And so I want to address specifically how will having a governor-appointed board make a difference in the crime?
well, I think when you look at their ability now to combat the defunding of police. The board in Kansas City is able to do that.
We've never defunded them, though.
And the board is able to kind of stop that. I think when you look historically back at what the mayor and was trying to pull and then backtracked on that decision a number of years ago. I know we've passed legislation, put it on the ballot 2 different times on that specific issue of defunding the police in the Kansas City area. And the makeup's totally different than what we're providing here in our legislation, and which is going to be heard later today. A little bit different version of this is going to be in the House. I believe it's House Bill 495. But when you look at the crime rates, despite the fact that Kansas City is so much larger geographically and in terms of population, the crime rates per capita are much better in Kansas City.
No,
than
they're
they
not.
Are. They
No,
are, and you're
they're
going to hear
not.
from experts today that actually show all of that.
No,
That
they're not.
100% they are.
No. So again, I don't know if you've answered the question as to how will a governor-appointed board make crime better in St. Louis?
Well, when you look at the legislation, and we've said this, I know you weren't on the committees. I don't think you were on this committee last year, were you?
At the end of the year.
Okay. So when this came up, we had a number of police officers. I would say 100% of the police officers that I've talking to, that I've spoken with from ESOP, the POA, they're all coming together saying, we need this. And
What
when I
about
asked
the
them
people?
why, what's that?
What about the regular
Yeah, so I've
people?
done, with Ty Dennis, we've done a lot of the little town halls, at least 6 of them in the city of St. Louis, Clippers and Cops. I'd say the vast majority of the people that I talked to in the city of St. Louis have said, we need change. When it comes to policing our streets, cleaning up our streets, plowing the snow out of our streets, we need change in management of the police and public safety. And when you look at the board makeup of who the governor would be able to pick from, it's relying upon the people in law enforcement that know what's best on how to manage them. So we're getting back to the residents of the city of St. Louis, trying to increase that community policing relationship, which has worked in many other states and many other areas, namely in Nashville, Tennessee.
Is Nashville governed by a governor-appointed board?
No, Nashville's entirely different. And I think
It's my understanding Kansas City actually right now is the only place in America
Right.
that is governed that way. And as a lifelong resident, I want to comment on the residency that you mentioned. It hasn't made it better. We still can't recruit. And in fact, our excessive force rates have actually increased, mostly by members who are not residents of the city of Kansas City as police officers. But I won't belabor that. What differences, specifically policy-wise, will a governor-appointed board be different from the process they have now?
Well, I think the big issues right now, we've got, I think, 849 officers. That number could have changed from when I got that data. 230 are eligible for retirement. The recruitment and retention is horrendous right now. So I think, again, working with the men and women in law enforcement to get the tools that they need, namely that's on patrol. We've had many different stories from police officers that haven't gotten pay. And in this committee last year, it was admitted that, yeah, there were certain police officers that weren't getting paid. Then they were given a paper check by the city, which then bounced. So the morale in that police department is not good. It's all at all-time lows. And working with different community leaders, looking at the statistics of the diversion of the money into social programs that are tying the hands of police, because now these social programs are saying, well, if we're going to a domestic issue, we want more police with us. There are a number of issues that are not being listened to by the men and women on the ground, and that's why they've knocked on the doors of mine, Senator Fitzwater, saying that we need some change. We need people to listen to us in the management of the day-to-day operations in the police department.
Who's going to pay for the police department if this passes?
Well, I believe on, I forget what page it is on my bill, but we do have the state taking over a lot of the liabilities and debts.
So that would increase the state's budget?
Well, when you look at the overall impact to what this is doing to the state's budget, as Senator Fitzwater illustrated, a lot of money comes into general revenue from the city of St. Louis. And as it's continuing to be decimated by crime, businesses are leaving KSDK just after KMOV did. KSDK has now left the city of St. Louis, citing safety reasons for their employees. So we need to do something before an even bigger impact is happening to our state. If that means pouring a little bit more money into policing services in the city of St. Louis to keep our citizens safe, our tourists safe, deterring crime, then so be it. I think in the long term, putting a little bit more money into law enforcement now will be a windfall for the general revenue in years to come, like we've seen in cities like Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, I don't want us to keep comparing Nashville. That's not good for people that look like me. So, with respect to the funding, so you're saying that the funding would come out of the state coffers as opposed to the city of St. Louis?
Yeah, I think there's going to be both. But when it comes to, let me see, the page 11 on section 3, upon the assumption of control by the board, the police commissioners under subsection 1 of this section, the state shall accept responsibility, ownership, and liability as successor in interest for contractual obligations and other lawful obligations of the municipal police department. Again, I'm open. I've said this year after year. I'm open to some sort of a hybrid when it comes to funding. I know that with all of these different businesses leaving and people leaving the city of St. Louis, money might be a problem. And, you know, I think we've got a great team in the Senate this year, a great team in the House that are willing to work with the budget and provide a little bit more funding if we pass this legislation.
Let's talk about population loss. You, in your opinion, is that only because of crime?
I think crime has a massive part of it.
So can you explain why it's the opposite in Kansas City?
Well, yeah, when you look at the crime rate, again, and we're going to have experts up here today that have these statistics.
Well, you had experts on statistics with the residency, if you recall, and I believe
That wasn't my bill.
No, when we were in the House, it was. And you specifically talked about how the lack of being able to live outside the city of Kansas City was affecting recruitment, which, mind you, is down now that we've allowed them to live not only outside of the city of Kansas City, they can now live in Kansas. So I don't want to keep saying that things are different with the statistics. Our statistics are trash.
Why is that?
Because crime is up. And if you want me to be honest, it's because many of my fellow legislators will not allow us to import gun laws that would protect our citizens. I live in a community where I hear bullets every night, all day, every day.
And isn't it illegal in the city, in Kansas City to discharge within the city limits?
It's illegal to shoot somebody.
Right.
But it's not illegal to have that gun. And when we did not have
so
those
what would
guns.
more laws do? And I don't want to
I will tell you what more laws would do. I have lived within the same.
But if people are
2
already
mile-
breaking the laws that we have had on the books for years.
They aren't breaking the law when they have the gun. So I will go back to the Chiefs, who are going to win the Super Bowl again, mind you. Thank you. But we will not have a celebration because until that young man actually discharged that gun, he wasn't doing anything illegal.
So open carry in Kansas City limits is illegal. Correct?
No, it is not.
By municipal ordinance?
No, it is not, because you all have said that we could not do that because we could not override the state law. That's getting off of what we're talking about with St. Louis. I just want to impart how is changing the board. We have a board now where ain't nobody ever done policy work. And I don't care who you are. I like the people, don't get me wrong, but none of them have ever done policy. So if we're talking about changing to some people who are going to get government friendly appointments, much like our national right now, who don't know policy. And it's important that we know policy. Policy things like, you mentioned community policing. That's a great thing. However, is it actually going to happen? We've been promised that in Kansas City. I didn't grow up being afraid of cops. I'm a senator, a lawyer, a business owner with an MBA, and I'm afraid of cops. Not all of them, because I have a lot that I love, but I am afraid when they're behind me. And I shouldn't be that way, and it didn't used to be that way. So you asked what changed? What changed was in 2012, I believe it was, when we changed our gun laws in the state of Missouri. Because I literally live 9 blocks from where I grew up. And that we did not have these issues while I was growing up. We didn't have these issues while my daughter, who was 37, was growing up. So I do think changing the gun laws is a big deal. And especially when I can carry a gun and you ain't gonna do nothing to me, that gives a young man a lot of oomph, a lot of confidence. So I want to know, how exactly is this going to actually make St. Louis safer, and what examples do you have where a governor appointed or state appointed board is making things better? Because in Kansas City, we have continued to, now let me say, for my city, our crime has gone down a little bit, but our homicides are still atrocious. We're still way over 100 homicides.
So to answer that question, I will say, have you heard of Kim Gardner and Gabe Gore? Because of the state involvement there, a bad prosecutor, in my opinion, the worst prosecutor that I've seen, and I've seen many, I've worked with many, because of state intervention, we were able to get rid of a bad prosecutor and put in Gabe Gore.
But that's not the safety, sir, because by the time it comes to the prosecutor,
no,
because the crime has already been committed. Remember, I'm a lawyer too, and unlike you, I was a prosecutor. So it doesn't come to me until the crime is actually, and I didn't want to get this involved in it. We've had this conversation, but the crime's already committed. So that doesn't make it safer. That just means I'm going to prosecute that person.
When you know that you're going to be prosecuted, that is a huge deterrent effect.
Why hasn't that happened in Kansas City?
Again, when you have prosecutors that are unwilling to prosecute.
Oh, but we don't have that. We have prosecutors willing to prosecute.
You absolutely have a prosecutor.
The only thing she didn't prosecute was marijuana possession.
Okay, and again, you have a prosecutor who's going rogue, like we had in the city of St. Louis.
No, we don't have that. I'm not going to let you do that.
And got rid of Kim Gardner.
We do not. We did not last year, and we now have a history-making prosecutor, and I'm going to get upset about that. We have not been rogue. We did not have a rogue prosecutor. We prosecuted our homicides. We prosecuted our violent crimes. We don't prosecute marijuana possession even before we voted that in the state of Missouri, and that is not a dangerous crime. But our dangerous crimes are being prosecuted.
It's my understanding that other things, such as jaywalking and other, what we would say are minor crimes,
yeah, she prosecutes. We prosecute those. Well, yeah, I got me a ticket for jaywalking. Of course, I got to dismiss. But and we have a different dynamic. We do. We have a county prosecutor and we have a city prosecutor. But yes, we do prosecute. Now, we don't do the weed. But if you got something with you with the weed, you know, if you got a scale or something else, then we gonna prosecute you. But I just want to be clear on why this is happening. Is this really happening to make things safer in St.
100%.
Louis? And I want to hear
100% of the
how
police officers-
will people who are appointed, who may or may not live in St. Louis,
No, they will.
or have relationships with government officials like us, how that's going to make it better, because it has not made it better. The only thing that has become better in Kansas City, which is state and nationwide, is we ain't got the mob no more, which is why we had state control in the first place. That's the only thing different in Kansas City. We still killing people. Now, we don't blow up whole communities like the mob did, but we're still dangerous. And so I got to see that this is actually something to make it safer, or is there something else behind it?
Senator, if I may interject, if we can wrap this up within the next 2 minutes or so, just so we make sure that, in the interest of making sure we have all of our
Oh, no problem.
witnesses be able to testify.
And plus, I didn't get
Thank
to
you so
pick on
much.
Senator Fitzwater, so.
Well, I think there's so much happening in St. Louis City. It's so important for our state. We can't keep doing the same thing. That's not what is going to be okay. And the cops are begging for this. They need the resources. They need an advocate.
The same cops who don't live in the city?
No,
No, they don't. They don't have a residency thing because we passed it here.
The board that would be selected would have to be residents of the city.
But the cops aren't. And the board doesn't go arrest anybody. They're not out in the community. Most people in Kansas City have no idea who the board is. Honestly. So how again is this going to make it safer? Because that's my understanding is both of you are saying it's going to make it safer. You mentioned that the reason that St. Louis is not growing, people get shot in Kansas City all day, every day. You know, we got a little boy that just knocked on the wrong door and got shot in his head and almost died.
And
But
Senator,
people still
that-
move to that neighborhood. Even where I live, where it is highly dangerous, is one of the most gentrified communities that we have in the state right now. So I need to know, how is that going to make it safe? I don't know why St. Louis is losing population. I don't, and I can't attest to that. I just know that
Senator, and
that we are growing despite the fact that we do have horrible crime. Well, no doubt about it. We do have horrible crime, and I used to say it's in one area, but hell, you can get shot anywhere in Kansas City now, anywhere in the metro area. So I'm done. I just want us to be clear that if we're going to talk about having a different kind of board, that we need to make sure, because these are the same citizens that asked that the board be removed. Because I don't think it's been that long that St. Louis has had their own. Has run their own police department. So I just want us to be clear that if we're going to do this for safety reasons, that we have some valid stuff, because we can compare Nashville all day, but Nashville doesn't have a state board. And in Kansas City, we compare to Nashville all the time. That's why that's how we got a new airport, because we was like, Nashville's amazing, and they are. But I don't want us picking on St. Louis, especially if we are not residents there and dealing with those issues. And they don't have half, because Jackson County got a lot of it too. Just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator. I do have one quick question for you, Senator. You had mentioned, and I'm going to be very brief here, you had mentioned, though, that the FBI reported incorrect data due to data they received from the city.
Correct. Yeah, I think there was a lot of reporting, either the Post-Dispatch, KSDK, a lot of media in our area has been on this for years. That I think back in 2021, and some of our experts can dive into this, but the crime reporting system had changed in the city of St. Louis, and a lot of the crime was underreported, because when they failed to turn in data to the FBI and didn't report certain crimes, the FBI published two different times. This is maybe back in 23, two different times invalid crime statistics, and had to go back and fix them.
Higher or lower?
Well, the crime was much higher. So the crime that the FBI misreported was lower than what actually was happening in the city of St. Louis.
Got it. Refresh my memory. Last year in this committee, did the city state that they would bring some the correct crime statistics to the committee?
Yeah, I
Is that
believe.
right? And did that happen?
Former Senator Eigel had asked about I think there was a report in the Business Journal discussing a professor from SLU that was unable to replicate the outcomes and the results that the city was producing. So we had asked for, this committee had asked for all of the hardcore data, and the city said that they would turn that over, and still to this day we haven't received it.
That's what I was going to ask. I'd be interested to see if the city has that with them today. But thank you, Senator. Further questions from committee? Thank you, Senators. We're going to now move into testimony. We're going to begin with those testifying in favor of the bill. We're going to limit testimony in the interest of time to 3 minutes, and if we really have to reduce it later, we will. But first up, please go ahead and state your name. Please make sure you have filled out a form. I have. And just proceed when you're ready, sir.
I'm Steve Pelton. I represent Missouri Sheriffs United. And
Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt. Is your microphone on, sir?
It is. The green
It is.
light's on.
Okay, thank
Can
you,
you
sir.
hear me okay?
A little bit, yeah. Thank you.
I'm Steve Pelton. I'm president of Missouri Sheriffs Association, Missouri Sheriffs United. And there's some provisions in this bill that we support, enhancing penalties for violent offenders we think is paramount, and the law-abiding citizens deserve that to keep repeat offenders off the streets. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for this witness? Seeing none. Thank you very much for your testimony. We're going to alternate to those in opposition. Is there anyone here who wants to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 52 or Senate Bill 44? Please proceed when you're ready, Mayor, and just make sure you have that form filled out.
Good morning. My name is Mayor Tashara Jones. I am the mayor of the city of St. Louis. I am here before you today to oppose the state takeover of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. This legislation, if approved, will not make St. Louis safer and will undermine the significant progress the city has made and continues to make in addressing public safety. Let me be clear. State control over our police department was a failure. It was a failure that the voters rejected, and if this body holds respect for facts and best practices, it should fail to move beyond this committee. Crime is down in the city of St. Louis. Crime in St. Louis is lower than pre-pandemic levels, and the number of homicides this year was the lowest in more than a decade. The decrease in homicides in 2023 was one of the largest drops in homicides in the past 90 years. 4 years ago, less than 40% of murder cases in St. Louis were solved. Today, we are clearing nearly 70% of murders, far outpacing the national average. We have been able to nearly double our homicide clearance rate through good police work and improving community trust in law enforcement. Overall, crime is down 15% from 2023 and down 31% compared to 2022. Through engagement with our youth, we managed to decrease the number of juvenile shooting victims by 6% year over year and 46% compared to 2022. Under state control in 2006, St. Louis was the so-called most dangerous city in the country and ranked second most dangerous on the eve of the switch to local control in 2013. Right now, St. Louis is no longer considered to be one of the top 10 most dangerous cities. 4 years ago, this city did not have a reliable way to prevent violence before it happened. Now, thanks in large part to funding from the American Rescue Plan Act, the city has an Office of Violence Prevention. This office holds over 40 contracts with community organizations committed to reducing violence in St. Louis, from organizations like Power for STL, which helps those who have been shot, to organizations like Diamond Divas, which helps those who are victims of domestic violence, to institutions like Jean Slay's Boys and Girls Club, which helps tutor our youth. We are meeting people where they are to provide what they need and help pull them away from violence. 4 years ago, St. Louis streets set the stage for drag racing and reckless driving. Right now, we are in the process of redesigning 9 major thoroughfares, narrowing our streets to curtail reckless driving and bringing back red light cameras to ticket those who break our laws. In 2024, the police department issued a total of 27,000 traffic tickets, 1,900 tickets for red light violations, and 3,600 speeding tickets. In partnership with the Missouri State Highway Patrol, the police department doubled the number of joint operations in the city to enforce traffic laws. Traffic Safety completed 13 coordinated operations with Highway Patrol on area interstates compared to 6 in 2023. My administration, with the financial support of the state government, established a youth driver's education program that has served almost 100 youth to date. We are safer today because we are investing in prevention, intervention, and enforcement. This legislation is not about public safety. If it were, I would expect a clear and compelling answer to this question. Why will state control make St. Louis safer? Kansas City?
Mayor, that was the time, but just give a few more moments just to wrap up your thoughts. Thank you.
I will wrap up by giving you some encouraging statistics. Number one, KSDK did not leave the city, according to the senator earlier. They moved to another building in the city because they needed more parking. St. Louis gained nearly 31,000 workers over the past year, making us the 7th best U.S. metro area for job growth. St. Louis ranks 6th as the most affordable city in the U.S. by Clever.com. We are ranked number 8 among the fastest growing tech hubs in the United States by CIO magazine. Our GDP growth was 16th among the 30th largest metros last year, and we're number 1 in growth of foreign-born population among those same metro regions. And in October, since people think that nobody wants to come to St. Louis, we continue to get nationally recognized by getting sports events like the NCAA Wrestling Championships, the 2025 Frozen Four, the 2026 basketball tournament, and the U.S. Olympic figure skating finals. And again, we are no longer in the top 10 most dangerous cities in the U.S. There's been $2 billion of investment in downtown and another $1 billion of investment in North St. Louis in my administration. So investment is up and crime is down. This theory that nobody wants to come to St. Louis is false on its face, and no one can answer the question again: how will a state takeover make St. Louis safer? Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for this witness? Senator Washington.
Hi,
Please
thank you
proceed.
for being here, Mayor. I just have a couple of questions. Can you address the allegation that the crime statistics that have been provided to the FBI and other entities are false?
Yes, and my police chief is here as well, but our crime statistics are audited every year, and we have never received an audit exception.
Okay.
And if you want, you can go on our website right now and print out and view all of our crime statistics in real time and download them. So they're available for everybody to use and see. We're very transparent.
And the second question is a two-parter. What would actually make St. Louis safer? And is part of that having some of the partnerships you have, like the Urban League, Saving Our Sons, Saving Our Sisters?
Yes, through our Office of Violence Prevention, we fund over 40 community organizations, including the Urban League, and including some of the organizations I mentioned in my testimony. That, in conjunction with our police department and our partnership with the Circuit Attorney's Office, has made St. Louis safer over the past 4 years. We have an all-hands-on-deck strategy to prevention, intervention, and enforcement, making sure that we are meeting people where they are, providing the resources that they need to be healthy and safer and stronger.
Thank you. Further questions for this witness? I do have one, Mayor. So in my guard unit, I serve with several police officers from the city. I believe they're also residents as well. And they had mentioned to me recently that the city had cut, I think it was 130 unfilled positions in the department. Can you confirm that? Is that accurate?
Yes, we made this announcement yesterday in conjunction with the chief and the Police Officers Association. We negotiated and approved reducing strength to 1,100 and putting that money in officers' pockets. We were able to give officers a 7% across the board raise based on an agreement that everybody was at the table to reduce our budgeted strength to 1,100, and that money will go directly to police officers.
Got it. Thank you for answering the question. Further questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony today. Again, we're going to rotate those in support. Come on up. Just please state your name, make sure you have your form filled out, and proceed when you're ready.
Good morning, Senators. My name is Byron Keelan. I'm the president of the Freedom Principle Missouri, and I'm here to testify in support of Senate Bill 44 and Senate Bill 52. The need to remove local control from St. Louis City leadership is long overdue. We are supporting the return of the control of the St. Louis City Metropolitan Police Department to the State Police Commission. The current leadership of the St. Louis City, particularly the Board of Aldermen, Megan Green, have made it clear that their mission is to defund, dismantle, and demean the St. Louis City Police Department, so much so that the Board of Aldermen President Megan Green has been seen wearing T-shirts and holding up signs saying defund the police. According to the Show Me Institute, since 2015, violent crime in Missouri, particularly in Missouri's largest city, has increased at a higher rate than any other cities with similar demographics. The St. Louis region, as Senator Fitzwater stated, is the economic engine of the state, and the failed leadership of the St. Louis City and their lack of respect for the St. Louis City Police has created an economic hardship on the state and the city of St. Louis. For instance, the rate of St. Louis population loss from 2010 through 2020 was 17,716 people. The rate now, in just 4 years, from 2020 to 2024, is 19,811 and climbing. My wife and I are two of those residents who have fled the city for safety reasons. In December 2023, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch reported that the St. Louis Police Department staffing has hit its lowest levels on record, and it lost another 17 cops, almost 2% of its commissioned workforce over that past month. And according to this report, the city budgeted for 1,200 officers, but just 912 of those positions were filed as of the first week of December 2023, and those numbers continue to decline. We recently have talked to the rank and file police, and they've said that number is now down to less than 850. And according to these police officers, they estimate of these 850, less than 444 police officers are assigned to patrols per 24 hours. When you break that down to 6 police districts, that equals about 73 police officers per district. And basically, you have less than 10 or 15 people per district patrolling per shift. And that's assuming if their vehicles are actually operational. All you need to do is look at the impact on businesses in downtown St. Louis. The Cardinals' attendance was at a historic low this past season. KSDK, while they're still in the city, recently moved that they're leaving downtown after nearly 40 years, and the reason is the safety of their employees. The return of St. Louis police control has been a legislative priority for the Freedom Principle for more than 3 years. We're grateful for the work the legislature has done in the last 3 years to get this legislation across the goal line. Since this issue is a key priority for Governor Kehoe, we hope this year the bill will finally get across the goal line and we can start making St. Louis a safer city. The men and women of St. Louis Police Department deserve leaders who respect them and make sure they have the necessary equipment to keep them safe. The residents of St. Louis City and the St. Louis region deserve to be safe.
Thank you, sir. That was the time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your testimony. Questions for this witness? Senator Washington, please proceed.
Hi, thank you for coming. Can I ask you a couple of quick questions?
Sure.
Where you live?
I live in St. Louis County in Ellisville.
Okay, so you don't live in St. Louis.
No, but I used to live in the city. I lived there for 6 years.
I used to live in New York, but I don't want to talk about Brooklyn. And I didn't mean to be rude, but I'm saying where you live now. Did you grow up in St. Louis?
The St. Louis region, yes.
Did you grow up in the city of St. Louis, sir?
No, I did not grow up in the city of St. Louis.
Okay, how often do you travel to the city of St. Louis?
Often,
What's often?
at least 2 or 3
I'm a
times.
lawyer, you got to get like
At
real
least 2 or 3
specific.
times a month.
Okay, and what do you go there for?
Just visit with friends or meetings or restaurants.
So the crime hasn't stopped you from visiting?
It has. It's definitely. I mean, part of the reason why I moved out of the city was because and quit going to the symphony or quit. You know, we went down to a concert this past summer, and so we paid for the very secure parking. We quickly walked over to the stadium to go to the event, and as soon as the event was over, we went right back to our car and left the city. We did not. You know, the event was at the Busch Stadium.
But it didn't scare you enough to not come to the city, right?
Well, no, it didn't scare us enough, but I mean, my wife refuses to come to the city because.
So she didn't go to the symphony with you that night?
She didn't go to the symphony. She went to the concert with me, but we were had our head on a swivel and was very, conscious about what was going on around us.
Okay. So you mentioned a lot about the leadership of St. Louis. Again, I'm not from St. Louis. In fact, my people from Saline County. I think most people in this building know that. We from the country. My grandpa people's from someplace worse, and it is evident that there's crime that killed that city, and that would be East St. Louis. But why didn't some of these issues come up under the previous municipal administration, the previous mayor?
Well,
because I know the crime was still bad then, right?
They came under criticism under the leadership of Lyda Cruson. It just
I don't recall. I was here in the building. I don't recall us trying to take over, though.
Yeah, it's been going on for a few years.
A few, right, but not.
Since she took over as mayor, it has been progressively getting worse.
Who's she?
Mayor Cruson.
Okay. And then why, again, do you think that the board is going to make it better?
Well, for one thing, this bill mandates a minimum number of officers, which is a good thing. Plus, I think the fact is that it's going to deliver hope to the city of St. Louis in that there is going to be competent leadership. It's not going to have this constant attack from the leadership of particularly the Board of Aldermen, who have relatively attacked the police.
All of them, or just this one
I would say,
chick that you mentioned?
considering what the makeup of the St. Louis Board of Aldermen is, I would say, yeah, it's pretty much all of them.
And you, I mean, have they all said that? Are they all wearing these T-shirts
Yeah,
you're talking
they've
about?
all talked about defunding the police. They've all talked about, the fact that they need to remove the immunity aspect of things for police. That
You don't agree with the immunity thing? You think it's okay for officers to kill folks?
I do not.
But when they kill them, what do you think should happen?
I think that there is a process for that, and that's not for me to say right now.
But you're here testifying
I
about this
understand
bill,
that,
so
but
yes,
the
it is for
issue-
you to talk about.
The issue here is the fact that the citizens have asked for it. We had a town hall in St. Louis City last year. We had about 100 people
Where at
there.
in St. Louis?
At the Police Officers Association, of
And
which
were there a lot of black people there?
there were some.
Some. So do you know what the demographics of St. Louis is by ethnicity?
It's about 52% black, I think.
Were there 52% black people at that meeting?
Well, no, but that doesn't mean that they don't represent some of, the concerns.
Yeah, actually, that's what that means.
No, it means that they're concerned about the city crime.
No, if we don't show up, it's because we don't trust cops.
Well,
Did you have any of these meetings that weren't at police stations or police buildings?
we've had discussions amongst the citizens and things regarding that. Particularly,
The question is specifically, did you have any of the town hall meetings at places
we've
that
not
weren't?
had any other town hall meetings.
And how
but
did
we've
how
had
did you let
other
black
meetings.
people know? Did you put like an ad in the American or anything like that?
Had a what?
Did you put like advertising, or did you go to the churches? Did you put something in the American? Do you know what the American is?
Yeah, I know what the American is.
Okay.
No, we did not. But
Okay.
Again,
So for 52% of the population, you guys didn't really reach out to them.
we tried.
And the only reason I say that, and I'm not picking on you or whatever, but this same issue with Kansas City and our residency, it was all the residents want to leave. And my cousin, who I can say this now because now he's in probably a really dangerous city, I asked him, because he was head of homicide, do the cops really want to leave? And it really was about 15 police officers that wanted to leave Kansas City. And they already lived in places that were at the edge of the city anyway. They weren't in our school district or anything like that. So that's why I'm asking you those questions specifically, because people don't come to the people that are most affected to find out what those people want. Sometimes we push for something because we think that's what folks want. And it may or may not be. I learned that from I did a mission trip in Kenya, and I got, they weren't very nice to me because we weren't giving them what they wanted. And so I would say that if this does not pass and you guys continue to want to inform the community, that you make sure that you go to the community that is most affected, because it is African-American folks that are getting arrested. It's African-American folks that are victims of excessive force, African-American folks that are victims of violence, not just with officers, but with criminals as well. So maybe ask the little old lady that goes to, Central Baptist or whatever church is. I think that would be a better way to actually know what the citizens want, because today I have about 100 emails where the citizens of St. Louis, I don't have their address, but that's where they say they live, and just like you're telling me where you live, I have to believe you, are saying that they don't want this. Although I will be frank, I'll be transparent. I know the mayor very well. There are people who do want this, don't get me wrong, but I haven't gotten my emails from them yet. I know that the crime needs to come down. Is this the best method for the crime to come down? Because in Kansas City, it is not.
I believe it is, and that's why we're here in support of it. So that's, I appreciate.
So how can you explain why it has not gone down in Kansas City?
I don't know, other than the fact is that it is a densely more populated.
We're actually not more densely populated. We're just more populated.
Well,
Dense means it's more people in a square mile than,
But you have-
and we don't have that. We have 365 square miles. So, we almost have a little bit over 12,000 people per square mile. So it's not really dense, but we are more populated, just not more densely.
yeah,
We actually spread into 4 counties.
and I can't give you any specifics about that.
And the reason I'm asking is because this is what we have. So why does not work there, but it will work in St. Louis?
Again, my focus has been on the St. Louis side of this from our talking with this, but the issue here is that I believe is that it will offer hope, and then the fact is that there will be accountability for this, is that it gets the politics out of the police management, with the Board of Aldermen.
How does it get the politics
Well,
out
the
if they're
Board of Aldermen
appointed by
continually
political
talk.
people?
The appointment and overseeing of this takes it out of the local. When people don't, when you don't like, when the people don't respect you, it's hard to work for people that don't respect you, in my opinion.
And have you been a cop?
I have not been a cop.
Okay, thank
But-
you.
But I have, like I said, I understand it.
Further questions for this witness? Seeing none. Thank you for your testimony. Those in opposition? Anyone here in opposition? Arnie, are you here for opposition?
I'm for, but he beat me to it. Do you want me to move over?
No, Chief, please.
Do you want me to move over?
No, you're fine. You can stay there. Yeah, come on over, Chief. Just please proceed when you're ready.
Committee Chair, Senators of the committee, thank you very much for allowing me to speak against both Senate bills. This is my third year down here. I started 2 years ago. I come from 3 other municipalities, police departments, chief in 2, and second in charge in Chicago Police Department. I do not know anything else but local control. But I do know answering to one boss who actually is supporting the police and in a profession that I love. And I've heard that there's no respect for the police officers, and I've heard other testimony. That gets me emotional right now. Because I will tell you right now, I'm in this profession to make sure I do everything I can to protect the cops, protect this city. I work for a mayor who has given me the tools, has given me the autonomy, and has taken the politics out of policing. And what a board will do, I'll deal with 5 different people. But this mayor is taken out. And I'm in this lifelong profession starting 40 years ago because I care about police officers, I care about community. And to hear things that the leadership here is not doing those type of things, there's no strategy. I don't know what was going on before me. But I will tell you, when I first came here, I had asked you, I was told we come down here every year. So in 2023 in January, I was asked, what's going to change, Chief? I said, the mayor hired outside eyes to try to make some change. A person who has a proven track record in the places that I've been. A person who believes in the integrity of crime statistics and follows the rules of law. And I've heard so many things in this place it's just not true. And I'll bring anyone here, anyone on the committee, bring the order in. Come on and see our crime statistics. Our crime statistics last year, when you asked for them, I said they're on our website. They are there. Why kill trees? Please go to the website. You can get everything off of that. We do National Integrated Ballistic Reporting System. We also do UCR, FBI reporting systems, apples to apples, as other cities are doing them. I stand by the statistics. I welcome anyone from this committee. Come to our CompStat sessions. Come down and see what we're doing. If you want to go by reporting or bloggers or anyone else, the mainstay is our integrity of what we do. You cannot drive down crime and have the successes that we're having right now if you're not reporting all the crimes, look at patterns and trends. And then when we hear about these things that nobody believes them, it's very disappointing. You know why it's disappointing? Because you're disparaging all the good work of these officers that have been doing day in and day out. Yes, they're understaffed. Yes, we know that. But when I came here, I said, what do we need to do? The mayor already saw that. She gave me my marching orders. She gave me the support. One person that answers to the public, answers to the electorate. And we talked about pay. We talked about crime. We talked about chief being in charge. We talked about morale. We talked about statistics. We talked about relationship with the union. We talked about end and rank and file. And we also talked about recruitment and retention. So pay. The mayor went ahead in 2023, understood that we have to be competitive. The only way you're going to get officers in this profession after what has happened in the last several years, because every police department in the United States, with the exception of a few, are not at budgeted strength. There's a place in California right now that's offering $100,000 to bring people in, transfer in as a signing bonus. It's happening all over the United States. We are at a dire place in crisis in getting police officers. But all those things, I hear my 3 minutes is up, crime, statistics, morale. If morale was so bad, why would over 24 police officers be sworn back in and asked to come back to this police department in the last year and a half? They're not coming back. So I don't know who you're talking to. You're going to talk to some, but it's not as bad. And then you talk about a 7% raise that was just given yesterday. No, we're not the highest paid. But I tell you what, we're a proud police department. I'm proud to lead this police department. I'm proud to be underneath this mayor who 40 years of experience knows she cares about this police department, is doing everything she can. Our statistics are showing crime is going down, Senator. It is going down. If you look at them, I stand by them. And that's from the good work the men and women do. Please don't disparage that work that they're doing. And we do it because of a CompStat methodology. We do it with community-based policing. We do it with evidence-based policing. We do it with intelligence-based policing. CompStat. These officers are getting the job done. Yes, they're understaffed. We just graduated 32 police officers on top of the 27 that came back last year. And also we have 36 in the academy right now, and we're going to be putting another class in. We're getting there. It takes 18 months from everybody coming out of the pandemic to get police officers in. I don't know what state control can do. I am not going to talk about other cities. People can do their homework on the only other city, because I respect what they do and the hard job that they're doing out in our sister city that's under a different type of leadership. But I don't think that's the way to go. But if we do want to go that way, all I ask is that if we can get those raises, if that's the way we're going to go, put those money in, because the city's ability to pay, we've done things to try to get money in the officer's pocket, and we just heard from the mayor talking about that. And also have the state kick in, or leave it up to the voters in the state or the city to see exactly who they want to be in charge of this police department. And I want to answer one question. When it talks about newspapers or a sociologist from St. Louis University talking about our crime statistics and saying that they're not right, he did put an article out there in the St. Louis Business Magazine. And then we had a rebuttal. Please read that rebuttal, in all fairness. If we're going to quote one end of it, quote the other. And that professor came back and says, we're not contesting St. Louis Police Department's numbers. We're contesting we didn't get it in the way we wanted it. Please put the rest of the story in there if we're going to do this. I'm here to protect the reputation of this police department. My reputation's on it, the support of the mayor, and I get along with the unions. We work, we listen, we've heard them, and all these issues I talked about, I don't have enough time to go through them, but I thank for this opportunity, and I guess I'll open up for questions. But thank you, Senators.
Yeah, thank you for your witness, for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Senator Washington, just keep in mind if we can kind of keep it brief to make sure everyone else is in.
Thank you for coming, Chief. Can you let us know where you've been, what cities you've been in before?
New York, Chicago, and Wilmington, Delaware.
I can hear the accent.
Yes, ma'am.
I grew up in Scotch Plains,
I grew up in the
New
Bronx
Jersey.
most of my life.
Yeah, right. Let's talk about recruitment. You just mentioned your class or whatever, but it's my understanding that you guys might end up with large classes, but then you only have like maybe 20% of them graduate. What is the problem there?
Well, the thing is, this is a tough profession. You want to make sure you get it right. We have standards even to get into the application process, and then when individuals come in, we start to show them exactly what they're going to do, and some of them make a decision, this is not the type of job. It's a noble profession, but it also is a profession that if you go into it, we want to make sure exactly you know what you're getting into to serve our community the right way, and that's why it's an 18-month period. You come in, application, background, you do 6 months academy, you do 6 months with a field training officer, and then you do 6 months on your own that we evaluate where you're on probation status. It's a very, very difficult position, very special type of person that goes into this to make sure we're doing it right. So a lot of them do weed out, and that's okay. We will train them to succeed. But the last class we put in was 33 people, 36 people in. It's dropped down below that. And the reason being, after the first week, a lot drop out. And that is not anything different that I've seen through the course of my 40-year career.
Can you address why the morale is low?
I believe the morale was low. We hit on a few things. Pay absolutely was there. We actually were not competitive with the rest of the region. That's why we're losing police officers. We did have, it was mentioned, we did have a circuit attorney that was not very supportive of when we made our arrests. Also, they had a list. They also had use of force that were not being signed off. So a lot of police officers didn't feel that they had the protections that other places had. So they were leaving for other jurisdictions for economics. Morale was low. And I think they haven't had steady leadership for a while. And when I say steady leadership, I mean they have interim, and now it's been 2 years, and I hope to see this through for many more years to make sure we can get to where we need to be. And that steady leadership works, but the pay immediately The mayor came in, recognized it in 2023, gave an historic raise to the rank and file, and just came out of the door a 7% additional across-the-board raise. And then we're going right back into an economic reopen because the collective bargaining agreement is over as of January 30th of this year. But we're going to get right back to the table because we want to validate and make sure these officers know we care about them, and we're going to make sure that we can stay competitive, because the minute we have a raise, the county, the municipalities, and everything else, they're going to look to make raises. We're in competition for the same pool of candidates.
One last question. I think we agree that it is a dangerous city. There is a high crime rate there. I live in a high crime city myself. What you've been there for 2 years?
Yes,
so
ma'am.
what are your plans, or what can be made to do this better?
Well, we're already seeing it. The first year, I asked the Senate committee, please give this chief a chance. Have patience to the next year, which was last year, which it didn't get through because we saw some successes. Successes of the police officers of the community working together. What we did see is we saw homicides come down by 40 homicides, which was down almost 100 from several years ago. And we came down 10 more. 150 homicides is one too many, way too many. But it's progress. It's not going up. We've seen other places go up. I won't say the names of these cities, but we have in our region. We're going down. Crime is going down. We were down in every category in the Part 1 crimes, with the exception of burglary. We're up 3%. And we've made some substantial arrests on burglary rings that I think that number will be down next year. How do you get there? When you look at communities, we don't have dangerous communities. We have some small percentage of dangerous people in those communities. It's less than one half of 1/2% that's committing most of the crimes. We concentrate on them and we try to get them the help that they need, that the programs the mayor talked about. But then we also are going to make sure we prosecute them if they continue to do that type of crime. And when you do that, in the cities I've been, you don't have to arrest everyone to get to the few. And that's where we've got it wrong in policing. We over-police communities. We have to police with the community. I've been to well over 200 community meetings at night. And we've gone back to community policing, and to hear that we need to get back to community policing in the open statements is just not true. Our officers are out there. The communities come together. And you know when you build trust? Trust is shown in clearance rates. You don't get a 75% homicide clearance rate, which is 50% now, right, dated now from last year's UCR reporting, is the rate. 50%. We were at 75. We're at 68 this year. We just finished 68. That happens from great work from our police officers, great investigators, first responders getting out there immediately collecting the evidence, using technology, leveraging that, but getting the trust of the community to call us because it's not acceptable, and they're trusting us to come forward and trusting the circuit attorney's office that will protect them to make sure that there's no retaliation against those persons. That's how you get good policing. And if you would love to come to our ComStat meeting, I will show you exactly what these men and women that I'm so proud of they're doing, and what the union's doing, because we both want the same thing. Ethical Society of Policing's here, and I said the Police Officers Association. I meet with them all the time because I need to know what their needs are from labor management meetings, because we both want the same thing for our officers. There is leadership here, and there is leadership that cares.
Further questions from the committee? I have a few for you, Chief. Can you confirm the number of officers you currently have? Is it 849? Is that accurate? I think it was mentioned earlier.
We go by commission officers. We want to stay consistent if we want to go back years past. So it's commission officers. I'm a commission officer. So it's 896 right now. I believe 33 as of today are in the academy, so they're recruits. I add them in the numbers to stay consistent, but I always qualify it when you ask this question. 33 out of the 896 are now in the police academy. Hopefully be police officers.
So they're considered trainees then?
They're
right?
trainees, yes.
Got it. Okay. And then how many out of that 896, how many would be considered retired, eligible for retirement? They could leave at any moment, right? What does that look like?
The percentage is, it's a 20-year retirement, every police department. That number is, you have to take a look at that number. The numbers that worried me, Senator, when I first came and when I was in my last police department, were the people that were leaving before their 20 years or leaving the profession altogether. That's not happening. Now we're having the natural retirements after 20 years. And that happens. I left at 23 years or 24 years after the NYPD. But here I am still in the profession. I didn't leave because I didn't like it. I love the profession. I went to do other responsibilities. You have to find out why are they leaving? We're not finding out that they're leaving for the other reasons. That's natural attrition. but the eligibility, I'd have to get back that number. I can give you the percentage of the amount over 20 years. I have a good number in my head, but I want to be more accurate, and I definitely will get back to you on that.
Sure,
through the
sure.
chair.
A couple other questions in. Now, I know the city moved to a different system of crime reporting. Can you explain how it's different than other cities or counties or even state patrol?
The city didn't move. The whole country, it depended on, there's a thing called Part 1 UCR, which is Uniform Crime Reporting Standards. And all police departments, to be part of this, some still haven't gone over to this. You had to go over to a thing that was called National Incident-Based Reporting System, called NIBRS. So they have, NIBRS goes into more detailed information about all the crimes. It's like almost 4 or 5 page long. They actually do something I don't agree with. They made robbery a property crime. So I don't know who put some of those rules together, but I have to abide by them.
Is that part of the, forgive me for
That's
interrupting,
part
is
of
that
the
part of the
NIBRS.
hierarchy rule, I think they call it?
Well, the hierarchy rules both with the UCR. We stay with that. NIBRS went into their own rules. They listed everything out, every crime, and they do a comparative analysis. So that was switched over a few years ago. A lot of cities that switched over to that type of system, they had to switch over, programming, computers, and everything else. There can be problems sometimes with some of the things and the coding and how they do things, and then getting that up to the state, which gets it out to the feds.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
But the UCR crime reporting is what I love to use, which you can go on our site and look at the CompStat. They're extrapolated out of the NIBRS. So the same reporting system, I do that for strategy. And I do that because that's what we're looking at, and that's what I want the public to look at every week, on top of crime mapping. So NIBRS probably went over a couple of years ago, a few years before my time coming to this police department.
Okay. Now, as I understand it, though, that system that you currently operate within, right?
Mm-hmm.
Only the most serious offenses are reported. Is that accurate?
We stay with murder, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, felony theft, and auto theft. And then I go down to misdemeanor thefts if you look at our report, because everybody, that's breaking into cars, that's package thefts, that's shoplifting. They're quality of life crimes.
So those would not be reported.
They're all reported. That's reported on the CompStat report. I don't report the whole NIBRS report on a CompStat report because it's a strategic thing that we work off, broken down by city, overall city crime, breaks it down by areas. We have North Patrol, Central Patrol, and South Patrol. Within that, North Patrol has 5th and 6th District. Central Patrol has 3rd and 4th. South Patrol has 1 and 2. We can break it down by district. And then we have 88 neighborhoods. And you can break down that crime analysis by neighborhood. You can do that by our CompStat reporting methodology that we use. And then you can take it and you can do it by the NIBRS. Both those reports are out there to see. And that's what I was talking about last year. They were asking for this information. It's up on our website. I'd be more than happy to print out the copy of everything that you need. It's a couple hundred pages long, but I want to save trees.
So I just want to make sure I didn't miss you. Okay, so you said that the system, it does actually report, you report it based on the most heinous.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure we're clear on that.
The website that we put together, revamped the website, was built in 2009. Had a lot of good information, but wasn't user-friendly. What I did is updated it to best practices that are done in every other city with a UCR guidebook underneath for people to understand how we do that.
Okay.
And then a NIBRS guidebook on how exactly we come up with that information through NIBRS.
So if you're reporting the most heinous ones, doesn't that then mean that there are some that are not reported? I just want to make sure I'm
No,
understanding
they're all
you correctly.
reported.
Okay, all on the same website.
Yeah, they're all on the same website.
Okay, all right. That's what I want to make
Yes.
sure I understood.
Two
Okay.
different reports. One goes into greater detail. One distills the major crimes.
Got it. Okay.
And that's an industry standard when you do CompStat. You can look at any other city, and the 4 cities that I've been in, I've replicated after best practices.
Got it. Thank you very much. Any further questions from the committee? See none. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you
your
very
testimony.
much.
To testify in favor, Arnie, go ahead and proceed.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Arnie C.A.C. Dinoff, State Public Advocate. And I just want to say my experience going to the city, and I go to the city quite often in a month's time, you have to be really street smart and you have to watch all angles around you. You have to be very cognizant of your surroundings and your environment. There's a lot of crime that I see in the city. And once that crime happens and major crimes happen right in front of me, I go to call dispatch or the police central dispatch line, and you're put on hold. And it's gotten better in coming months, But about 6 months ago, I was on hold for 45 minutes for a hit and run on I-70, where somebody was tragically injured waiting for police and fire, and it took me 45 minutes and being dumped by the 911 system at least twice. And so it's a real unbelievable breakdown in the public safety systems in the city of St. Louis. The chief alluded to data. It's very difficult and hard to get to and understand. And I even called the chief's office and got zero response for getting the information to find out actual facts and information. Somebody said that KSDK Channel 5 left the city. Well, so did KMOV Channel 4 left the city and went to Maryland Heights. Many businesses in the downtown area, because of crime and the environment, have left the city. There's a bunch of crime and disrespect. Enforcement is laughable. I ask any of you to drive on any of the major interstates and highways that are in St. Louis City. You see in excess of 100 miles per hour, careless and imprudent driving, reckless driving, and endangering the lives of families, children, and Missourians. 12 years ago, I opposed getting rid of the commission, but no one listened then. It's been a waste since then of hundreds of millions of dollars. Kansas City, as well as St. Louis, are considered the most dangerous cities in America, and I believe the top 5. It has to do with leadership and local control. Senators from St. Charles County have gotten involved, and I question where is the leadership from senators from St. Louis City on this issue. And I'll get to
Thank
my
you.
point
That's-
really quick. Missouri Highway Patrol interdiction needs to happen. There needs to be a change. There's a breakdown in
I'm
the
sorry,
system
Arnie,
in
we
the
have to
city.
move. I'm
and
sorry.
hopefully police commissioners will have the best interests of
Arnie, I'm sorry, we
policing
have to move
and
on.
people over politics. And I just want to point out to you that
I'm
there,
sorry, we're not going to get all of our witnesses
there
in
are
if
5
we don't
other
move on.
issues on
Okay.
Senate
Thank
Bill
you.
44 that need to be addressed.
All right, we're going to move on. We need anyone else to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 44 and Senate Bill 52. Please proceed. Make sure you have your form filled out, sir. Just start with your name and proceed when you're ready, sir.
That was interesting.
Oh, sir, I'm sorry. Before I begin, how many, by a show of hands, how many do we have to testify today, either a for or against? How many do we have left? Thank you. We're going to move to 2 minutes of testimony so that we can make sure we get everyone in.
2 minutes after me, Mr. Chairman, I hope.
That'd be 2 minutes starting now, sir.
Oh, my goodness. You know, my name is Adolphus Pruitt. I'm the president of St. Louis City NAACP, has been for 16 years and have worked with every chief the city has had during that period of time, and no chief will tell you that we didn't have a good working relationship. I want to take my time to say that so the committee doesn't be predisposed to the fact that I'm within ACP and it automatically means we're against police officers. Have a great relationship with the chief. My concern is that this bill won't solve the crime issue in the city of St. Louis. The best analogy I can give you is that when there's an oil leak, oil well, pipe ruptures, they put buoys around to contain the oil. And then after that, they come in and start scooping it out and processing it and dealing with it. But one of the biggest priority is to stop the leak, to fix the rupture. And so let's say crime is the rupture, crime is the oil, that's the crime. Well, the only way you're going to solve the crime problem in the city of St. Louis anywhere else is to deal with the educational system. The problem is that if you look at any statistics, John Hopkins just did one out of Baltimore. There's been plenty of others done across the country. We've done one several years ago looking at the police department stuff, is that you find that 90% or more of the homicides that are committed in these cities are done by people who lack education. In most cases, didn't even graduate from high school. The issue is the St. Louis public school system. It has always been the issue. If you don't graduate them, or if you graduate them, they're illiterate and their literacy is down, they're not going to be employable. If they're not employable, they're not going to get jobs. If they don't get jobs, they're going to result to crime. They're not going to sit up under a tree and die. They're going to find a way to survive. And so the issue is not whether this board exists or does not exist. If you go back and look when we had a police board, we had crime then. The issue being is that's educating the children and dealing with them. And the most unique thing I find about this bill too is that in St. Charles County, gentleman created bombs and had hand grenades and said he was going to blow up protesters if they come out to St. Charles. The prosecutor got hold of it. This person got probation and is walking the streets right now today. Had that boy been sent to the federal authorities to prosecute, he'd be in jail right now. So when St. Charles talks about the crime in the city of St. Louis, and we won't talk about the guy in Warrenton that threatened to kill niggers that the feds just indicted. So St. Charles does not need to talk about crime in the city of St. Louis
All right,
when
sir.
it can't deal with its own serious crime.
I appreciate your testimony. Any questions for this witness? Seeing none. Thank you very much for your testimony. Those two, any witnesses in favor? Please come up. Just state your name and make sure you have your form filled out, sir, and proceed when you're ready. And your 2 minutes begins.
Hello, my name is Jay Schroer. I'm president of the St. Louis Police Officers Association and the Missouri Fraternal Order Police. I am here to testify in support of Senate Bill 44 and Senate Bill 52. Over the last local years of local control of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, you have seen a one-strong police department crumble under city control. Prior to local control, the city police department was overseen by a board of police commissioners who were prominent St. Louis residents appointed by the governor with a vested interest in the city's success and the department's ability to fight crime. Now the city police is in the hands of progressive city politicians who don't support officers and are consistently looking for alternatives to traditional policing. The compromise language in 2013 between the St. Louis police officers and the city officials included an ironclad collective bargaining agreement protecting officers' benefits, rights, and workplace environment. Today, all of those safeguards have been stripped away, and their benefits, working conditions, and previous employment rights have been gutted. Facilities have been neglected, and currently our firearms training range is closed, so parts of the range have collapsed. The area stations were falling apart, so it took private citizens to step in and spend millions of dollars to fix them. The Board of Aldermen continue to try and legislate the police department with their current surveillance bill, which would hamper any investigation we could do. Every day, the officers of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department come to work knowing they're in one of the most dangerous cities in America, where they are outmanned and underpaid. Routinely, districts have only a few officers to cover their shifts. It is a testament to these officers to do what they do day in and day out in these awful conditions. The local control experiment has failed. It's time to return control of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department to a board of police commissioners. And I will stand for any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none. Thank you very much. Anyone else here to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 44 or Senate Bill 52? Please go ahead and proceed. Make sure you have a witness form filled out. Just start your name, state with your name, and begin when you're ready.
Can I talk first and do this afterwards?
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Okay. Can I talk first and do this afterwards?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Precious Jones, and of course, I'm the founder of Breaking Generational Poverty. St. Louis City does not need increased government policing. I am a respected community leader working on the ground with our youth to expand their quality of life, end gun violence, and reduce crime and poverty rates. There was a time when I was angry with the police chief and the mayor because I was seeing things from only one perspective. As I began to understand, the issues don't solely lie with our police or mayor. They are community-wide issues that involve community members, leaders, and grassroots organizations and families. Everyone plays a vital role in reducing crime, poverty, and homicide rates. Bringing in state police is not the answer. The answer lies in increasing resources, maintaining regular communication with community leaders, elected officials, law enforcement, community members, and our youth. It's important to remember that the people closest to the solutions are also the ones closest to the problem. They must have a seat at the tables. Through this approach, I have been able to build a rapport with our mayor and police chief. Crime will not be stopped simply by bringing in more police. Crime is reduced by identifying why it happens, creating a strategic plan to address the root causes, and meeting the community where they are. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none. Thank you very much for your testimony. Those in support, please just make sure you have your form filled out. Looks like you do. Just start with your name and proceed when you're ready, sir.
Yes, my name is Donnie Walters. I am a resident of the city of St. Louis, and I'm employed by the city of St. Louis as a police officer. Police sergeant of 22 years, beginning 23. I'm also the president of the Ethical Society of Police, which is the black labor organization in the city of St. Louis. Currently, as of 2012, February 23rd, an article was written in the St. Louis American where the Ethical Society of Police opposed going under local control. So I wanted to put that out there now. That article was written by the former president, Eddie Simmons, at which time, just for the record, there was talk with the association about opposing local control as a unit. That stopped. I don't know what happened, but Ethical has always been against local control. Here's the reason to believe it. 22 years, 10 of those years, I can say I was under state control. Was crime down? I'm not going to sit here and lie and say, no, crime was not down. But it was safe. Here's the reason why it's safe. Because if I get into a resisting with 1 or 2 individuals on a call, if I hit my emergency button, I used to be safe knowing that I'm going to have some sort of response. Now we have officers on the street where there's only 2 to 3 cars representing all of North St. Louis. And I understand that some people are opposed to it, some are for it. I have talked to residents because I go to calls. That's where I do my interviews. When I talk to them, I have had residents call me opposed to calling 911 because they feel that I can help them a lot faster than 911. I am a black man living in the city of St. Louis, and I travel the streets. My mother still lives in the city of St. Louis. I have children that still lives in the city of St. Louis. So the talk about the statistics, I don't have those. I talk to the rank and file. I talk to our civilian employees. We have civilian employees that when we were under state control, they felt appreciated. They felt supported, just like the commission. We're just wanting to feel as though we're supported. I get all the services, they're great. But if there's no follow-up to these services, which I've been on calls repeatedly for those in mental stress. I'm a hostage negotiator. So I've looked at individuals going through mental stress with a gun. I remember the one we had on Hartford where the man killed his wife and had a shootout with the police. He had an automatic weapon, but we stood together, short-handed or not, and we did our best to protect those citizens. And that's what we do every day when we come to work. We do our best, and we just want to be appreciated for doing our best and looked at. Just like I don't know anything about politics, and I have opinions about politicians, but I'm not in that field. I know law enforcement. And when people want to manage something that, hey, let's talk to us, I talk to the rank and file. And that's who I listen to. So I know with the Ethical Society of Police, there's at least 200 plus civilians and law enforcement that would like state control. I'm open for questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, I do have one question for you. Yep, go ahead, Senator.
Hi, thank you for being here. I just have one question. What do you think is the difference in terms of the board's position in the state control and the local control since you've actually experienced both?
Investment. I listened to you, ma'am. You were talking about, where it was a lot of the excessive force. Well, I got that knowledge as a defensive tactics instructor. I taught after Ferguson de-escalation. I just recently took another force science. So it is education. So you have to invest into the rank and file and training and then have a source of supervision in order to make those changes.
And that investment went down under local
Yes.
control? Okay.
Further questions? I will say a comment. I have several friends who patrol in North City, St. Louis, and they are consistently texting me, telling me, "Hey, look, we feel like nobody has our back out here. There's a recruiting problem." So I appreciate your testimony, and I would have to agree with you. Further, thank you for your witness. Anyone else here to testify in opposition? Please state your name. Make sure you have your form filled out, ma'am, and then proceed when you're ready.
Good afternoon. My name is Mallory Rush, and I'm the Executive Director at Empower Missouri. Given that I know that time is limited and a number of folks have already spoken on opposition to the state takeover of the police department, I'd like to spend my time focused on a component of the bill that has not actually been addressed yet in this committee. And it's 7 very short lines in the bill that I think you could fairly easily overlook that changes the definition of the offense of rioting in the state of Missouri. So currently, in order for someone to be charged with rioting, it requires premonition that people have gathered and have agreement with other persons to violate the law, and that they violate those laws with force or violence, which is a very, I think, sort of typical textbook definition of rioting. The change that is being proposed in this bill is that folks would no longer have to have any premonition, and they would not have to violate any of the laws with force or violence. This is, we believe, going to infringe substantially on the very important First Amendment right to freely assemble and to exercise our freedom of speech in order to peacefully express dissent. Changing this so that if any law is being broken, you can now be charged with rioting means that the simple act of sitting peacefully, perhaps blocking an intersection that you would have traditionally been charged with, perhaps a failure to disperse, you could now be charged with what would become under this law a Class D felony of rioting. We believe that this is a gross infringement on the rights of Missourians, and we would ask that the committee consider removing that language from the bill.
Thank you for your comments. Any questions? Seeing none. We're going to move on to continued testimony. Those in favor, please state your name. Make sure you have your form filled out, sir, and just proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Todd Scott with the Missouri Attorney General's office. I did want to speak briefly and to convey the Attorney General's regret at not being able to be here personally, and to relay a couple of thoughts we discussed prior to this. He does want to go on record as supporting this bill, and I will limit my remarks in this interest of time to a couple of aspects that address our office's role. We believe that every law enforcement officer, including those in the city of St. Louis, should have a valid, a zealous, and a consistent defense. And one thing this bill does is it brings the St. Louis City Police Department back under a system where our office and our attorneys can represent them. It also gives them the benefit of the Missouri's State Legal Defense Fund, which will help provide a backdrop and a backstop in cases when there could be lawsuits. The last thing we want is an officer who we ask to do a very difficult job and to put their life on the line, to go out there and have in the back of their mind that there might be litigation, a lawsuit that would come of it, and not being sure that they will have zealous representation. That's something our office can provide. We do it now for the city of Kansas City. We do it now for the Missouri State Highway Patrol. We believe our office, our law firm, we have one client. That's the state of Missouri, its employees and its agencies. And we very much want the police to know that we have their back, that we have their interest at heart, and we think it will be a good morale boost to know that the State Attorney General stands behind them. Happy to answer any questions if I can.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much for being here. Further testimony, those opposed to Senate Bills 44 and 52. Just go ahead and state your name, sir. Make sure you have a form filled out, and proceed when you are ready.
Okay, good morning, Senate Chair as well as Senate Committee. Thank you all for having us. Thank you for this time as well. My name is Bryson Kendall Banks. I am a legal analyst for a law firm in the city of St. Louis, and I'm also representing Breaking Generational Poverty under the leadership of Precious Jones, who spoke earlier. We are against both SB52 and 44. We understand and we have seen statistically that these bills represent a profound threat to the safety, the autonomy, as well as the well-being of St. Louis community. These proposals, they seek to strip control of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department from local leaders and transfer it to the state, which would thereby undo years of progress made under the local governance. This is not a us and them situation. This will forever be a us situation, both between the local community, the city, as well as the state. We have seen statistically that the leadership under Ms. Tashara Jones has trended towards that more of peace as opposed to the egregious numbers of homicides that have taken place over the last 2 decades. And so we are advocating more both rights, autonomy, as well as financial support for the city of St. Louis, as well as the police department in the city of St. Louis, as opposed to state control. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you.
Those in favor of Senate Bills 52 and 44, please proceed when you're ready, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Steiger. I'm a retired St. Louis City police officer. I'm currently employed as the business manager for the St. Louis Police Officers Association. I am here today on behalf of both current and retired police officers to speak in favor of Senate Bill 44 and Senate Bill 52. We are asking for a return to a governor-appointed board of police commissioners made up of local St. Louis City citizens. State intervention works. We learned that when the state intervened in the circuit attorney's office. When that occurred, crimes were prosecuted, crime has gone down. There's a direct correlation result when that happened. In the interest of time, I'm just going to skip through a couple of quick things to try to answer some of the questions about how this affects crime. I think the most important thing is the fact that there's not enough police officers on the street to affect crime right now. Part of the issue with that is with some of the bureaucracy when the hiring process through the city's processes. It does take as much. There has been some changes. I know that the chief has worked on this, but it still takes sometimes as much as 6 months to get through that process. In that time, applicants are hired by other agencies. He's correct. It's a very competitive market for police officers. And other cities are actively recruiting our officers despite the steps towards these wages. We have gotten some wage increases, but it still lags far behind our counterparts in the county. There's been some talk about across the board raises. We did do a 30 steps to a 20-step matrix, which is still the highest in the region. It's a step in the right direction. We're grateful for that. But the people who were over that 20-year range did not get a 7%. It was condensed. It's a smaller amount for some of them. So I don't know that really plays into retention for that group that we're addressing. But we hope to keep building on this and keep working to help with recruitment. The other thing I want to speak on, just again to talk about how this affects crime, the political interference, which is often talked about here, and Jay talked about this briefly in the Board of Aldermen. St. Louis City's done an excellent job of utilizing the dwindling resources, specifically using technology to fight crime. But all this technology complies with state and federal laws. The information is received through court orders and search warrants, and we've used that technology to solve crimes. But the board, trying to regulate the use of this technology, is not only are they attempting to limit the ability to solve crime, but their actions have brought attention to this technology, and detectives have seen an uptick in criminals taking action to avoid police surveillance, such as powering off their phones, removing license plates, and things of that nature. That has definitely affected our crime.
Thank you.
That's my time.
Thank you,
Sorry.
sir. Thank you, sir. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much for your testimony. Anyone else to testify in opposition? We have a very hard cutoff at 12:55, and we may end up having to recess.
Okay, Lisa Panette with Armorvine, and I actually applaud the intent of the bill and what you guys are trying to accomplish. I just have a problem in particular with SB44, 84.100. The board may continue to employ as many non-commissioned police civilians, which shall include city marshals and park rangers, as it deems necessary to perform the duties imposed upon it. And I would just ask if you have any understanding of what's going on in Eminence, Missouri right now, because they're using park rangers to harass the citizens. They have jailed the citizens without cause. They've issued tickets that these people can't pay or contest. there's a lot of issues going on in Eminence, and since we already know there's a problem with this, this language just stood out to me as being problematic for the city of St. Louis as well.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Thank you very much. Anyone else to testify in favor of Senate Bill 44 and Senate Bill 52? Please just state your name, ma'am. Make sure you have a form filled out and continue when you're ready.
It's already there. I'm Jane Duker. I represent the St. Louis Police Officers Association, the St. Louis County Police Officers Association, and the Missouri Fraternal Order of Police. A couple things that I want to point out. There is not a year of data on the web. I don't know why they keep telling people that it is. The web itself, and I can send you the screenshot of the police department's website, they only maintain 6 months of data. Well, guess what? The beauty of maintaining only 6 months of data on the web means that no one can take a year of data and test the numbers that they put out. So that is a problem. They were caught by ProPublica in reclassifying homicides, over 24, quietly reclassifying them. They had issues where they only reported 11 months of data to the FBI. I mean, these are all reported instances involving issues with the crime data. People should be able to go on the web and see all of the data and be able to say, yes, we agree with the numbers that you're putting out. But when you hide half the year's data, nobody can do that. They did do a dump of data of, I think it was like 21 to 23. And it's true. There was a professor from SLU who came out and said this data is not usable. I mean, that he's a demographer, and he said this data is not usable, and you should use caution when using it because we can't verify any of it. And they had 9 staffers looking at it. Representative Donna Behringer had an intern go through every bit of data and could not verify the numbers that were being offered by the city. So that is a problem. Also, domestic violence, those are not on the web. Crimes were like Colin Brown, the hockey player. His murder is not on the web because I guess he's a juvenile. I mean, he was a very open and notorious juvenile, but so those aren't on there. There are other instances. The web itself tells you this may not agree with the UCR number that we report to the FBI. Well, the public needs to know what set of data everybody is living by, and they need to be able to know CompStat, that's not recognized by the feds or the state. So how that plays into, data that's reported is a whole different thing. The other thing I want to say real quick. In 2020, we lost 129 officers. In 2021, we lost 174 officers. 2022, we lost 190 officers. In 2023, we lost 139. In 2024, we lost 106. There's 849 post-certified officers. I checked it this morning on the state's website. We have 849 officers. In 2015, we had 1,276. 2021, we had 1,198. In April of 23, we had 961. In January of 24, we had 898. In March of 24, we had 879. In 12 of 24, we had 849. That is a huge dump. Officers are they're voting with their feet and they're leaving.
Yeah, thank you very much for your testimony. I will confirm before you leave. On the website, it was mentioned to me earlier by the chief when I asked if all of the crime statistics are reported. On the website, on their website, it says some offenses will not appear on the map, and I'm definitely going to have a conversation with the chief
And
after.
also check the provision where it says that only 180 days.
Yeah, that's correct. It also shows that here as well. So thank you very much for your testimony. Unfortunately, that is going to conclude our public hearing. You're going to keep it going? Okay. All right. We have one more. Anyone here to testify in opposition? Please proceed, sir.
Excuse me. For the sake of time, I'll make this brief. My name is Marcel Hakens. I am the policy coordinator with the Action St. Louis Power Project. Action St. Louis is a nonprofit grassroots organization dealing with the task of increasing Black political power in the St. Louis region. I've been a part of this conversation, at least in my capacity now, for the last 3 or 4 years, and I asked the question way back when, and I asked the question now. Who is this language looking to assist, and what is your actual goal? with this language. You say that this is about protecting the citizens and making sure people in St. Louis are safe. We had both Chief Tracy and our Mayor Jones give you statistical data that says crime across the board, with the exception of a few places here and there, have gone down consistently since Robert Tracy has been our police chief. I was here that day when he asked to give him a chance. I think the thing that I would present here now to add to that is to give the people of St. Louis City and the region of St. Louis a chance. The reason that I say this is because as those things were also happening, you had members, like you just heard from a young lady, Precious, here, who saw issues in her community and decided to do something about them. We have organizations like Freedom Community Center who actually work with individuals in pretrial and send them through a restorative justice program. And once they come out, they actually have those charges dropped. There are successes that are taking place in the city of St. Louis without the additional hand of the state. So I ask again to give us the opportunity to continue to do that work, to have the opportunity to not only re-envision what public safety looks like for us, but also give us the opportunity to actually move those programs along. And the last thing that I would add is that I think it's pretty ironic that we are sitting here having a conversation about state government takeover of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, when I have also seen people here actually talk about having less state government control around conversations around the Second Amendment right. And I would argue that there is more of an issue with automatic weapons in our communities than actual violence intervention and violence prevention in our areas. So again, I thank you for your time, and if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you very much for your testimony. That's going to conclude our hearing on Senate Bills 44 and 52. Make a motion to adjourn.
Well, since the hearing's over on the bill, you still can put your testimony in. That will go on the public record as opposed or for informational purposes. So if you want to, you can fill out a witness form. That will go on the record as supporting or opposing any of the legislation that's been before us today. We'll make sure that goes in the record. Just make sure you put your witness form on the stand in front of us, and we'll collect those and get those on the public record. Seeing no further business before the committee's adjourned.